Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show DiMare One on One. I'm Nicolette DiMare, your host, and here I am today with a special guest, Kelly Saco, who is a broadcaster on Bally Sports and truly an inspiration to us women who are trying to pursue a career in journalism.
You're too sweet. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you. So, we're going to start off. Talk a little bit about your early life. I know you have a sibling that was a swimmer, is a swimmer, a D1 athlete. So, talk a little bit about that.
Oh, goodness. Growing up down here in Palmetto Bay, Florida was awesome. I absolutely loved
Palmetto Bay girl.
Right? Exactly.
Yes.
Loved growing up down here. I have two siblings, actually. So a brother and a sister. They are twins. All three of us were swimmers growing up. I obviously also played a little softball as well. So we just had a great childhood down here. We played a ton of sports 24/7. We're always outside. We were on the boat a lot and spending a lot of time with the family. So it was a great childhood. I love it. Wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
And who was the athlete, mom or dad?
Ooh, okay. So sorry, Dad. Mom was an Olympic swimmer, actually. So she represented Venezuela. She was born and raised in Caracas, represented Venezuela in the 1976 Montreal Olympics.
Wow, that's amazing.
So she was kind of a big deal.
Yeah. And what elementary school did you attend?
I went to Coral Reef Elementary School. I still know the jingle. I will not sing it out here because your poor viewers will never tune back in after they hear my voice. So I will spare you all. But yes, Coral Reef Elementary School.
And do you have a favorite teacher there? Do you remember any teachers?
Oh, goodness. I had a lot of teachers. My favorite teachers were probably I was in the gifted classes, and my favorite teachers were definitely my gifted teachers. I had Miss Grappel. I remember I had Mrs. Means. She got married. She was originally Miss Shriver, then Mrs. Means. And then who was my other one in that one? It'll come to me. It'll come to me in the middle of this interview, and I'll just shout it out. But I really loved them.
And what middle school did you attend?
I went to Southwood Middle.
Perfect. And who was your favorite teacher?
Ooh, at Southwood, I would have to say Mr. Leone. He was my 6th grade science teacher. I really liked him a lot. He was a lot of fun.
That's amazing. And what high school did you attend?
I went to Miami Palmetto Senior High School. Go Panthers.
And what was your favorite subject in high school?
Goodness, it definitely changed every single year. For me, the subject that I liked most was definitely whoever teacher I had like that year, who was just, I found like the most interesting teacher that I kind of related to the most. So it definitely changed every year.
And what sports did you play?
Oof, I played a lot of sports. I loved sports. I think sports are wonderful just to keep you active, and also it teaches you a lot about life. So I played a ton of sports. In high school, I played a little volleyball, I swam, and I played softball.
I wish I played sports. It's okay. And I know you chose Syracuse. I know you went to Syracuse, but did you get any other offers other than Syracuse?
I did. I was looking at several other schools. The schools that I decided to actually go on recruiting trips for were Auburn University and then Syracuse. And I really thought I had a great time at Auburn. A lot of friends were there. I just really enjoyed the weekend that I spent there. And then I went to Syracuse and I walked on that campus.
Oh,
and
so it was the
just,
campus.
It was like this. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the most beautiful place I've ever seen in the entire world. And I just knew the second we pulled on that campus, that's where I was supposed to be.
And why did you choose Syracuse? Because of that?
Well, I mean, not just because the campus was gorgeous, though it was very convincing. I think for several reasons. One, it's just an incredible school. At the time, I wasn't sure what I wanted to study, but I knew whatever direction I wanted to go in education-wise, it was going to be a great school, and it was going to get me all the experience that I needed and the education that I needed to pursue whatever profession I decided to go into. And then second, I was going to start as a freshman, and I worked really, really hard at softball my entire life, and I really loved the sport. So the fact that I was going to have the opportunity as a young freshman to be able to start was a selling point for me.
Right. And going back to high school, how was your team? How was your team? Did you guys win any state championships?
Yes, we did. 2008 state champs. Our team was wonderful. I had so much fun. Looking back at those memories were some of the best memories in high school, both for the swim team and the softball team. The softball team was special. I mean, we were there grinding it out together. It was just such a great group. I'm in touch with some of them still, and it was just really wonderful.
That's so amazing. And what was your favorite moment on that softball team?
Definitely winning the state championship. So we made it to state every year that I was there. We made it to the state championship 3 out of my 4 years, and we lost every year until my senior year, where it was, I went into, goodness, now I'm like forgetting. I think we went into to 12 innings. I think it was 12 innings. It must have been.
Wow.
Yes. Oh, I know.
Wow.
12 innings. Yeah, it had to be 12 innings, pretty sure. I'm going to have to go back and look.
Yeah.
But 12 innings for that championship game. And I pitched the semifinal game and that state championship game. So it was like the longest game ever. And I just remember I got the game-winning hit as well. And it was just such an incredible moment because just everyone on that team had worked so hard. And we knew the pain of losing year after year after year to finally win it my senior year was just like a dream come true.
And what other, were you only a pitcher? What position did you play?
No, I also played first base.
Wow.
And I also hit too. So yeah, it was just a great experience. Love the sport.
And what professor in all of your years of school, elementary school, middle school, high school, and college, made you fall in love with journalism?
Goodness. Okay. So I never knew. See, I wasn't as brave as you are right now in high school, sitting here doing such a wonderful job at this interview. You're sitting here telling me it's your first one. I would have never believed you. This would have terrified me if when I was in your shoes, when I was a senior in high school. The idea of sitting down and doing this would have absolutely terrified me. So I never thought I would pursue anything, especially in television. And it was actually my mother, when I decided to go to Syracuse, who suggested that I try journalism because Syracuse is one of the best schools, the Newhouse School of Public Communications, one of the best school, I think the best, a little biased, but in the nation. So for journalism, my mom's like, why don't you give it a shot? You love sports. I think you'd be good at it. So I said, okay. So I tried it. So it was really my mother who helped me pursue it and suggested that I go in that route. But when it comes to professors, I'd have to say probably my very first professor in Newhouse and in broadcast journalism was Professor Nicholson. I still keep in touch with him a little bit now. He was my very first professor, very, very tough, but very, very good.
Right.
And he just really helped us learn the industry and learn the right way to do it. And I just really responded to that kind of instruction.
Right. And when you did apply, or when you did get recruited to Syracuse, did you go directly into Newhouse? Like, did you already have your major? Did you know what you wanted to study?
No, I had no idea. When I had applied and everything, I was thinking I was going to go into sports medicine, but I faint when I see blood, so that wasn't going to go very well. So I was already a freshman when my mother had suggested, hey, why don't you go the journalism route? So I knew I had to have at least a 3.5 to transfer in my sophomore year. So I just worked my butt off for that entire freshman year, just working really hard, keeping my grades up so I could transfer in. So I started as a sophomore.
Right. And how was that balancing between, because I know that athletic life is crazy, and of course a school like Syracuse, which is so amazing. How did you balance that?
It was tough. It was really tough, especially with my sophomore year. I think we had practice starting at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh my God.
It
crazy.
was early.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Very early, and I was going to sleep at like 2 o'clock in the morning trying to finish my homework. So it was tough. But some of my teammates from college, especially like the younger freshmen when I was a senior, would always joke and they'd say, we're always going to remember you by this one phrase, because they'd always ask me, they're like, oh my goodness, how do you balance a social life and softball? And I was president of our student athlete advisory committee. And I kind of did everything. I'm like, how do you balance that? I'm like, organization is key. I'm like, if you really want to do things, be very, organized with your time.
Right.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Everyone's guilty of this too. And you're sitting there on social media and then all of a sudden you turn around and you're like, what time is it? Yeah. Oh my goodness, the time flew by. When you have a lot of things that you really want to do and you really care about, you put things like that kind of eat your time aside and you focus on the things that you really like to do. So I really cared for my athletics and I really cared for my grades. So I made sure, okay, I need to be very, very responsible with my time. And that's pretty much how I balanced it.
Wow. That's amazing. I'll take that into consideration because I'm one who struggles with time management.
Don't we all, though? You learn. You learn.
We're all guilty of it. And at what age did you get your first job in journalism?
My first job in journalism was right out of college. I think probably about a week after I finished my internship. So right out of my senior year, I had an internship with the Olympics with NBC at 30 Rock in New York City. Okay. So it was the 2012 Olympics. So I remember I was there just, working like every other intern, just working our butt off. And some guy who I had been working alongside asked me a couple days before the internship was over. He's like, so what are you going to do next? I was like, I guess I'm going to go to the real world and find a job. And I was panicking. He's like, you're from Miami, right? I'm like, yes, I'm from Miami. And he said, I think I know someone at Fox Sports Florida, which is what Bally Sports was at the time.
Right.
So you want me to put you in touch? I'm like, yes, please. I remember I was so nervous. I gave the coordinating producer my parents' phone number instead of my cell phone number. Yes, this is how nervous I was. And they eventually got a hold of me and we chatted. He said he had an open position for a production assistant if I wanted to come in for an interview. I said, absolutely. So when I got back from New York, I went in for an interview, and he must have liked what I had to say because the next day I had the job.
Wow, that's amazing. And how did you start working with the Marlins and then just work your way all throughout South Florida? Because I've seen you on UM too. I've seen you on UM. Yes.
yes. UM is a great place. Go Canes. Yes, I went to Syracuse when I grew up a big UM fan. My mom actually graduated from UM. Yes. So yes, very, very close to my heart, Canes are. So yes, so as a production assistant, one of the things I had told our coordinating producer at the time, I said, listen, if this isn't a place where I can learn and I can grow, then don't hire me. I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere where I can learn. He said, absolutely. But you have to make sure to take that upon yourself too. So I made sure to shadow as many reporters as I could, learn how to edit, learn as many skills as I can, learn how to produce, learn how to do a bunch of different things. So I gained that experience that first year, and I was actually a production assistant for a woman who at the time was the silent reporter with the Heat, and she also was a producer for what was called Billy's Bunch back then. It was a kids show for the Marlins. So from there, I was at the field, a few times a month helping her with that show, and I got to meet a few people. So after my first year as a production assistant, there was an opening as an in-game host, so the girl who's on the Jumbotron for the Marlins. And so I put in my application, my reel, and I got an audition, and then I got that audition. I did the audition, and I must have done well. I worked so hard for that audition. I remember coming out of it telling my parents, if I don't get it, I will be okay. I'll be upset. Obviously, I want the job, but I'm so proud of the way I did in the audition. I think I had a really solid audition, and apparently they thought so too because they hired me there. Right. So I started as the in-game host with the Miami Marlins. So from there, somebody at UM saw me after I think about a year there, and they asked, hey, we want to incorporate an in-game host too for football and basketball and baseball games. Would you be interested? I said, absolutely, yes, a chance to work with the University of Miami for the Canes, a team I grew up cheering for my entire life, of course. So that's how I ended up with UM. And then one of my current colleagues now, who was an intern for the Marlins now, who then works for the Marlins now, he had seen me at a game and said, do you have any interest in working up in the booth and doing analyst work for baseball? I'm like, I never really thought of it. He said, well, you played softball, you know what you're talking about, why don't you give it a shot? So they also gave me an opportunity there for some games to do analyst work for University of Miami baseball games too. So that's kind of how things took off from there. Fast forward, I think maybe 5-6 years, Fox Sports then had an opening for a digital reporter, and they came to me and said if it was something I'd be interested in. I said, absolutely. So I went back to Fox Sports and did some digital reporting and then kind of worked my way up, filling in on the sidelines for the Marlins, and now I've got a much bigger role in the sidelines now, and also doing radio work, and yes, with the Miami Heat too.
That's crazy.
Yes.
That's amazing. And do you have a favorite type of, because you just mentioned so many types of journalism, digital,
yes,
radio, all of it. Do you have a favorite type?
I don't. Someone actually asked me that earlier today. They're like, oh, what do you like better, TV or radio? I'm like, it's hard to pick because they're so different. And I think I'm just really fortunate to be able to do both of them because it's a nice balance. Right. So what one offers, the other one doesn't. So it's nice to kind of go back and forth.
And according to Google.
Oh, boy.
According to Google.
To hear this.
You are the first female radio broadcaster for the Marlins.
Yes.
Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
How do you feel about that?
Honored, honestly, to be able to, be the first woman on the radio for the Marlins, which is great, but also just to be able to do it for my hometown team. I grew up watching this team, so it's something that's very special. And
have you, we all know, all sports, predominantly men. Have you faced any challenges working in this industry that is predominantly men, especially journalism, who you don't see many women on the face of it?
So I think that I've had a very good experience. I've had a lot of support from the men that I've worked with. I think that just being a woman in sports in general. One, we've come a long way. There's so many women before me who really, really paved the way, who really were the only ones. Now I'm seeing so many other women in this industry, which is really, really nice. I think you're always going to have, not even just men in general, but people out there who are going to assume things about you because you're a woman, you don't know what you're talking about. And quite frankly, I'm like, that's more of a reflection on you than it is on me. So for those kind of people, I just kind of, shrug it off and I'm like, okay, sure, whatever you say. So you're always going to see, I think anyone in the walk of life is going to see different kinds of challenges. It's just a matter of how you kind of react to them.
And who is your hero?
My parents. My parents are my hero. They're wonderful. Seriously, I'm going to get all choked up talking about it. But my parents, 100%. I mean, they worked so hard their entire lives to make sure that me and my brother and sister had the lives that we had, that I told you, the childhood that I absolutely love and would never change for the entire world. I mean, they're just the most amazing people that I know. And I've just being able to see their work ethic and what that they've been able to do and how they've been able to raise us and the life that they've created. I have so much respect in the entire world for them and so grateful to them.
That's beautiful. I hope they're watching.
I know, right? Watch.
And what advice would you give to your younger self today?
Ooh, younger self today, I would say, don't care about what anyone thinks. I think that's something that everybody goes through. Everybody, to an extent, one extent or another, kind of cares a little bit too much about what other people think. And I think that if I were to have cared less a little bit earlier and not be afraid to make mistakes, then you just grow faster because you learn from mistakes and you learn from just going for it. And you're going to learn a lot more from your mistakes and giving it 110% and realizing, okay, that doesn't work, this worked, and just kind of figuring out from there than just going little by little because you're so scared to make a mistake. So I think don't care what anybody thinks. People are going to have their opinions and it's more a reflection of them than it is of you, and just trust yourself and go for it.
I feel like in this day and age, that's really important. I feel like a lot of us get all so caught up in all these of what people say and it's just a matter of what they say. Exactly. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. Well, I like to think, I saw this great quote. It said something along the lines of, what other people think of you is none of my business.
Exactly.
And that's so true. Everybody has their opinions and it's an opinion. It's not a fact. So it's something where I'm like, I think a lot of youth in general could use that. And even a lot of adults now these days, you get so caught up in what people think of you. Just focus on you and focus on doing the best you can and being true to yourself. And then everything just kind of works out.
And what advice would you give to women who are trying to pursue a career in journalism?
Oh, goodness. What advice? There's so much advice out there. I think that one thing, and it's not even just for women, but for anybody out there, I think in journalism and especially sports journalism, is make sure it's a lifestyle that you want. I think from being an athlete my entire life, I was very well aware of the lifestyle I was getting into because it was a lifestyle I knew my entire life. So when the season starts with the Marlins soon, we'll have 3 days off a month for 6 months. Wow. So it could be pretty gruesome, pretty grueling. I wouldn't trade it for the entire world, but it's just to make sure that it's a lifestyle that you want because your work-life balance matters. So to do a good job at your job, you also have to make sure that you're happy in your life. So if you're going to be in a lifestyle and something that just doesn't work for you, then maybe it's go in a different direction. So make sure it's a lifestyle that you want, and then after that, go get them.
Well, Kelly, thank you so much for joining the show today. You truly, truly are an inspiration to all of us who are trying to pursue a career in journalism. We'll see you next time.